And welcome to the show today, ladies and gentlemen. The messages of inspirational stories is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. That's SIXminutewebinar.com. And with me today is Dr. Tania Simmons, and she's about to crack up laughing at me, and I don't know why. It must have been something I said or done. But we're really looking forward to this week. We're going to be talking about a subject that I think everybody knows someone that's either had cancer, passed away from cancer, or maybe themselves are cancer survivors. And that's a topic that we're looking forward to bringing this week. Tomorrow, we're going to have our good friend on, Dr. George Grant. Now, he's no relation to me, but he's got 3 doctorate degrees. He's a professor. He has worked with the CDC here in the United States and the Canadian equivalent. So he is a subject matter expert. He's got some of his own formulas that he has actually generated, and he's going to share a lot of good information with us. But Tania, I tell you, you're also a nurse, aren't you?
I am. I've been in the healthcare field for about 27 years, and I absolutely love it. My background is neuroscience, oncology, and ENT oncology. I've also done some other work in some other fields of oncology, like urology and that type of thing. But I absolutely love it. I love what I do. Yeah.
And we're so glad you took a busy time out of your schedule today to join us, because you're in a embassy suites there somewhere in Kentucky.
I am. I'm traveling. I'm on the move, and I am in Kentucky right now at Embassy Suites live. I'm glad to be here. Glad to join you guys today.
Oh yeah, we're so glad that you did. Go ahead.
A big hello to the audience and much love. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. For sure.
Absolutely, because we've got people that watch us on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, Android TV, iOS, and Twitch, Periscope, YouTube Live. Some watch us on E360, watch.e360.com. They have the apps there, and we're just so honored that people watch us all over the world. And the reason why I think people like to tune in is because they know that we're going to provide infotaining information that's beneficial to them.
Right.
This program here does not have any type of guest that come on and sells things. That's not this platform. There are platforms for that, but this TV station is not. And we're looking forward to an upcoming summit where you and I met on a summit in India.
Yes.
And and the young lady put, the young lady that put it on, she invited me, of course, and of course, Donna, and of course, that's where I met you, and also Saf. And, I knew the guest of honor for the summit over in India, the water conservation and rainwater harvesting, was going to be the King of Oman. So anytime royalty is going to be on TV, that automatically, pulls in a multitude of people. So I figured, well, I hope I can sound intelligent. That might be a challenge. So what I did, I took the 6-minute webinar, rather than making a normal 6-minute webinar, I used it as my foundation to build my presentation from. And I spoke on that Saturday, and then early Sunday morning, I get a message from Vanya. Says, "Can you join us again today?" Okay, so I did, and spoke again. But afterwards, I introduced her to the 6-minute webinar. And making a long and boring story short, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be putting on. We were invited by Vanya, E360 TV, in the 6-minute webinar, where everyone here is familiar with the 6-minute webinar, okay? We're all going to be putting on a summit at the end of August. And it's going to be an honor to help work the show there. Tanya's going to be there one day. I'll be there one day, and Donna be there one day. And we're going to be the people that's we're going to be co-hosting, but we're going to be the ones behind the scenes directing the traffic. Hey, you go here, you do that,
Yeah.
pushing the buttons and all that. We're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to
But
be great.
yes, it will be. And for you out there, as a benefit for you, please go to the 6 Minute Webinar on Facebook. 6 Minute Webinar, the group page. Look at the 6 Minute webinars that people from all walks of life, just like you and me, have done for their business. And then decide if you'd like to have a 6 Minute webinar. Again, I will give the first 5 people that contact me here at the here at the TV station. I got a radio show too. Inspiration D360 TV, and I will help you. I'll put all 5 of you in one class, and all 5 of us, all 6 of us will go through the 6 Minute webinar at one time, and you will leave there with your very own 6 Minute webinar at no charge. That's my gift to you. We're going to talk a lot this week about cancer, but I want to get into some nuts and bolts things today about our health.
Mm-hmm.
And back in 1995, I came down with something. I don't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I really wasn't sick, but I really wasn't healthy either. And I had this chest congestion. I had this cough. It was not bronchitis. I just got over that, still getting over still got a little bit of it left, but I know what bronchitis is. This was not bronchitis. And so I went to the doctor. He checked me over. He couldn't figure it out. And long story short, after about 4 trips there, my gluteus maximus felt like a pincushion from the shots I was getting. I don't know how. I had about 2 or 3 different types of cough syrup. I was drinking cough syrup like a wino. And what got me was that every time my business phone would ring, I'd reach over and pick it up. And I'd try to, answer the phone, and I'd get this tickle in my throat, and I had to start coughing.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened every single time. So after about 3 months, my wife's in a grocery store. I'm going to hold this up. I don't know if it'll show or not, folks. I'll do my best. Mm-hmm. And she saw this little bottle here, Highlands bronchial cough.
Mm-hmm.
It's a homeopathic. Mm-hmm. And she says, Jim, would you like to try this? I told her, why not? I've tried everything else. Mm-hmm. And I immediately put it under my tongue, and it calmed that little cough down. And within a week or so, it was completely gone. So I didn't think too much about it at the time. I thought, well, maybe this thing has run its course after about 3 months, And the next year, I came up with that same little thing, picked up this little bottle, and these are little white tablets that you put underneath your tongue. They immediately dissolve. They're not bad tasting or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And it knocked that little cough out. And I'm going like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
Here I was mooning the nurse, getting, shots in the old keister and all that,
Right.
And I'm getting x-rays. I'm buying all this expensive stuff, and this little bottle here, this little homeopathic bottle, and I don't have any stock in the company, and I don't get paid anything. That's how Highlands, Hylands, bronchial cough, knocked it right out. And, I'm going like, come on now.
Right.
There's got to be something to these natural cures and homeopathics. Mm-hmm. And Tanya, I've been hogging the camera. Please forgive me, but
no, that's okay.
You've seen some things that make you go,
Oh
right?
yeah, I've seen a lot of things that make me.
And you're a nurse.
Oh yeah. But I've worked with some of the leading neurosurgeons in the world. I've worked with some of the leading oncology surgeons that there are. And, the ENT department I worked with is 4th in our nation. And so they're cutting edge on research, and they're a teaching development facility as well. And so they like to use new modalities and things like that. And it's phenomenal to see how certain modalities of care and to see, a patient come in with tumors within their lungs, and then these modalities of, say, immunotherapy are being utilized, these new cutting edge strategies, And then within a couple of months, they're absolutely clear of tumors.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, it's fascinating to see those things, but I've
Hmm.
also seen the other side of it as well.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I've seen both sides for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to life, when it's your time to go, there's not a whole bunch you can do about it except make peace with your maker and with everyone there and look forward to a better life in eternity because that's exactly what's going to happen for those of us
Hmm.
that believe.
Hmm.
Getting back to my story, that little bottle impressed me, and I fortunately, what guided me down the right path, there was a pharmacist in Katy, Texas, that was big into herbs.
Mm.
And I started asking him some questions, and I'm going like, wow, this guy makes sense.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
he was talking about one of the things you should take is echinacea whenever you start
Hmm.
feeling ill or something like that,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
let it boost up. He said, but don't take it all the time. And I says,
Hmm.
why? He says, your body can build up a resistance to it.
Hmm.
That made sense. So I dove into the world of herbs, homeopathics, and natural cures for about 10 years.
Hmm.
And some of the things that I discovered along the way, and I was just telling Tanya about this before we went live. You remember how we would hear grandma after she drank her tea and she says, "Oh, I feel so good," and
Hmm.
everybody thought, grandma was nipping at something, that got her a little high, and maybe she was in orbit around Jupiter.
Hmm.
But the truth of it was, grandma had tapped into some good oxalic acid, Oxalic. Actually it's a very strong poison, and it's in all of our vegetables. The vegetable that has the highest content of oxalic acid is parsley.
Hmm.
So what does oxalic acid do to the body? Many studies have indicated that it attacks abnormal cells like cancer, arthritis, and things of this nature.
Hmm.
So I tell people that, since parsley is such a high concentrate of oxalic acid, just take some oxalic acid and put it underneath your tongue because you want to get the benefit of it into your bloodstream and not your gut. And the reason for that, because prevention is better than curing any day of the
Correct.
week.
Absolutely. 100%. And this is why this show is very important because I'd like to
Mhm.
be able to give the audience that information as far as preventive care, which this is really important.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
No,
This is
no,
good.
you're on a roll. You go ahead. I can I
I
can.
was on the line
Yeah.
because in the morning, I think it's important to have that routine in the morning. And so it's important to have whether you're going to do smoothies or whatever it is, but green leafy vegetables are very, very important to
Mhm.
kill the free radicals,
Mhm.
and it's very important to get those green leafy vegetables in. Spinach, obviously, you want to increase your iron and things like that. But spinach is very high in content with that, and then also like the parsley you were talking about. So what I'll do is I'll make some smoothies in the morning at times, and then I'll put in spinach, parsley. I'll put in maybe some garlic, some cinnamon, different things like that,
Mhm.
and then drink it. And it also avocado is really good. Obviously for your skin,
Mhm.
and all that anti-aging. But these things are very important.
Mhm.
We can talk about this all day, but if people don't utilize these things, if people don't put their, into action, that's why, for me, it's super important to remain healthy, to be vibrant, to maintain my energy. Um,
Mhm.
I've had people walk up to me and say, "What do you do? What do you do? How do you keep care of yourself?" And I let them know that, sugar is the number one factor. White processed sugar is the
Mhm.
number one killer. It decreases your immunity, and
Mhm.
also it will make you age quicker. I don't know if people know
Mhm.
that, but it will make you age quicker. The more you eat it, yeah, it tastes great. It's like crack. I mean, I don't know what crack tastes like, but it tastes like, it's very addictive.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
goes into what we were talking about earlier, Jim, was, our food industry. It doesn't really
Mm.
help things very much.
Mm-mm.
It costs more. Listen to this. It costs more to eat healthy and organic than it does to eat processed foods. So then you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking about, let's talk about socioeconomics within our nation. Let's talk about the single mother with 4 children, or even the 2-parent family that has a couple of kids,
Mm-hmm.
and what do they grab for? I think education, empowerment, and an understanding of our diet and how it can help prevent
Mm-hmm.
disease is important to educate people on. And so that's one of my hopes for this program today.
Well, absolutely, because as I was doing my study, Hippocrates, he's known as the father of modern
Go
medicine.
ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
He actually got into an argument because Hippocrates really believed that the natural cure was not the way to go, but the only way to go. And he said something that took me on a biblical trip.
Oh,
He
wow.
says,
Share
God
it.
promised in the Bible that we have everything that we need in the plant and the seed.
It's true.
And I'm
It's
and I
true.
went searching for that. And ladies and gentlemen, it's found in the very first book,
It
the very
is.
first chapter, towards the end of it. And that's what he was talking about. And he was against us, we don't need the manufacturer. We're a bunch of shade tree mechanics. We know how to fix this,
Mm-hmm.
That's the attitude. You get cocky. And that's one of the human fallacies about us, because as we're talking about natural ingredients, natural foods, and all that, remember this: every single thing from the molecular level all the way up has to have nourishment to
Yes.
survive.
Yes. That's right.
Cancer has to have nourishment to survive.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Therefore, when people go through cancer treatments or whatever, and the cancer comes back, the cancer was never eradicated in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Plain, simple, short, sweet, and brief. You cut off the food, the cancer or any disease will die. It has to. It cannot survive. Everything on planet Earth must have nutrition to survive, even weeds.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you look into genetic factors, right?
Mm,
You look into genetics. Is the cancer hereditary or not? And then you look into environmental factors, where we were talking earlier, Jim, about radioactivity and
mm,
radioactive waves from your microwave to everything, to your phones, your cell phones,
mm.
etc. And I think you want to talk more about that. And then
Oh,
you look
yeah.
into environmental ways, which we were talking about, which was that. But not only that, but even from your shower curtains, the PBA and releasing, toxins when the plastic heats up,
Mm.
and,
Oh, yeah.
and then you inhale it into your lungs. And so, all these things are considerations, even from your deodorant that you're using,
Mm,
with the aluminum within the deodorant that is strictly linked. It has been proven to be linked to breast cancer. Um,
mm,
and and all of these other things, and then you move on to diet and health
mm,
and well-being, exercise. How are you maintaining and upkeeping your body on a day-to-day basis?
mm.
Let's ask ourselves, let's look at that truly. And I mean, I'm not talking about anything I'm not doing or haven't
Oh,
been
yeah.
doing. I mean, my water intake could definitely be better. There
Mhm,
are areas that I think we can grow in and we can develop, and we need to be more disciplined in. But if
mhm.
people don't know this information, they're not going to be able to utilize it appropriately. And so the best way to prevent disease is knowledge, right? And that's what we're giving people today, is knowledge on how to best, be proactive within their health, which is super important.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I tell people to be careful is do not eat or drink anything that has citric acid in it. And when I normally say that to someone that doesn't understand where I'm coming from, they look at me and they go, Jim, citric acid, that comes from oranges and tangerines and limes. How could that possibly be bad?
Hmm. Hmm.
But what they do not understand And I explained to them like this: do you really think you can take dough and eggs and milk and make cookies or some type of bakery items and wrap it up in plastic and set it out on the shelf and it be good for months? Does that sound natural to
Right.
you?
Right. Like
But,
the Twinkies that stay
oh,
on the
yeah.
shelf, they're the worst. These types of items that are sometimes we think, oh, well, it's just a snack or it's very quick.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
on the shelf for a reason. They stay there. Their shelf life is infinite, and
Yeah.
that's not normal. That is not
Right.
normal.
And
Yeah.
if you look at the history of citric acid, which I have, the original citric acid that they started using was in World War II. They found out it was a very cheap, colorless, tasteless type. Well, it wasn't. It puts a zing in soft drinks. That's why it's there. That's why it's in Gatorade. But they found that it was a very cheap way to preserve food. But the
Absolutely.
foundation of that citric acid, you know where it came from? It was the same substance used to etch metal.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
think about that for a moment.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. And this is what I'm talking about. If people
hmm
don't aware, if they're not reading their labels, if they're not
hmm
aware of glycol, for instance,
mm,
and other things of this consistency, or which is chemical based, it's created in labs, which
hmm
is not normal for our bodies to ingest.
yeah, hmm
Glycol, I believe I'm correct in saying, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it has some properties which are similar to that in gasoline.
oh
Look at
yeah,
Coke. Look at Coke and glycols in everything.
hmm
Look at your processed foods. Look behind. Turn it over. Read your labels.
hmm
Um, why it's best to stick to organic. It's best to stick to, and even then you have to be careful.
hmm
But it's best to stick to foods that are natural, raw, will break down normally within your
hmm
body.
right,
Sometimes these foods don't break normally down in your body when they're so chemically filled. They don't break
hmm
down normally, and they sit in your intestines, and
yeah,
they can accumulate. And so and then it creates toxins within your body. It affects your kidneys. I hate to say this, but I know people that are crazy about mellow yellow. I
mm,
don't know if you drink mellow yellow,
mm,
but I was talking to someone the other day and I said, listen, that'll kill you. I said, Mellow Yellow is one of the highest soda content, caffeinated drinks that's available, high in sugar content. And I
mm,
said, it's super bad for your kidneys. Even the
hmm
nephrologist that I used to work with, they said, oh my God, stay away from Mellow Yellow. It'll eat up your kidneys. But,
hmm
listen, if people don't know about it, don't have this
hmm
information, what
hmm
do? It tastes really
yeah,
good. Of course it
oh
tastes
yeah,
good. And then they drink it. Then guess what? Then it puts more money back into Mellow Yellow's pocket, right? And then
hmm
people become sick. Well, then what happens? People become sick. They get kidney disease or whatever it is. And then they go in. And then what kicks in? Yes, big pharma kicks in at that point,
hmm
right? So
hmm
everyone has something to gain, right? And I hate
hmm
to just burst this bubble, but everyone has something to gain. And it typically goes back to money.
oh yeah, yeah. People, I mean, these companies. Look at the automobile industry. I remember when Ford back in the 70s, they had an exploding gas tank. They knew about that,
Oh my
but it
goodness.
was
No
profit.
way.
It was profit over people. Yeah, if someone rear-ended, I think it was the Pinto or something. I don't remember
Oh
which model it
no.
was, but it could create a fire, and they knew it. And they try to keep it quiet, and that thing showed its ugly hand. And when I talk about citric acid, this is one more thing I want to
Oh, go ahead.
really
Yes.
share with people before we
This
get
is
off of
good.
that. People that believe that citric acid is natural, okay, if you look at your body's natural digestion,
Hmm.
the third step of the digestive process is called Krebs, K-R-E-B, the
Yes.
Krebs cycle.
Yes. Hmm.
Do you know what the Krebs cycle does? The Krebs cycle generates citric acid naturally in your body. And you know what that does? It flushes all of the poisons and the toxins from your liver, your kidneys, your blood, and it gets it
Hmm.
out of there.
Hmm.
So, therefore, if you think you're eating healthy, and you're eating fresh vegetables and all that have oxalic acid in there, and you're drinking something like a soda pop or eating any other kind of food that's laced with citric acid, what you're doing, you are pre-flushing your body before the oxalic acid from the plants can get into your system
Mm-hmm.
and actually
Mm-hmm.
perform the task of attacking abnormal cells like cancer and arthritis.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's
I've told
wow,
people
that's
that, and they
powerful.
think that I'm, I'm out there, you know. I mean, I've been looked at like, and I said that one time at a homeopathic course that I took, and I talked about that. And this one lady looked at me and she says, "I've never heard anything so silly before in my life." And I
Mm.
started to say something back, which I've never had anybody this ignorant before me around me, but I didn't. I let it slide because, in
Mm.
life, sometimes opinions are like rear ends. Some are bigger than
Mm.
others,
Yeah.
and she had a real big opinion of herself.
Well, look at for instance, if you want to detox your body, and I really
Mhm.
feel it's important to do a detox every 6, 8 weeks, maybe every couple months, whatever you feel
Oh
comfortable.
yeah.
But I do a detox. I do also a parasitic cleanse as well. Because I mean those things happen. They live within our intestines, even
Hmm.
from the meat or the things that we eat, that we digest, we don't even know about, but.
Hmm.
Um, so there are certain foods I don't eat, but there are certain foods that I do eat. For instance, those that are, I try to do my very best to stay away from white sugar, and also, things that are very high in fat content and things of that nature. I need to, obviously, I don't eat a lot of fried foods, so those things are
Hmm.
important. But I think it's important to focus on also the raspberries, the
Hmm.
blueberries, the blackberries. Those are
Hmm.
very, very good for you, especially when we're talking about prevention of
Oh yeah.
cancer. So those have been studied out. You can look them up. You can go to googlescholar.com. You can look it up. You can put in raspberries, blueberries, blackberries in relation to clinical studies where
Mm.
it comes in contact with cancer, and you can see all the data. So it's really, really important that we eat those. Obviously, blueberries are similar to brain foods, superfoods,
Hmm.
and there are other things that are important. Cinnamon, for instance, keeps your metabolic, your sugar, so to speak, at a stable
Mm.
level, so that you don't go into cravings
Hmm.
so often. So if you want to get a green smoothie in the morning, put some cinnamon in there. It'll keep your
Hmm.
blood sugar level, your
Hmm.
glycemic index level, and so that you won't experience, lots of ups and downs in your
Hmm.
blood sugar. So those things
Oh yeah.
you need to pay attention to. Obviously, we know that alcohol consumption isn't very good for our liver or any other organ,
Hmm.
but within moderation. Cardiologists have said, obviously, because of the properties within the red wine, resveratrol.
Mm.
It absolutely helps with
Resveratrol. Yes.
right, resveratrol with your heart. So these
Hmm.
things are very, very important, and you need to
Hmm.
eat for living, right? Eat for life, so to
Hmm.
speak.
Oh
Don't
yeah.
just eat to eat.
Oh
Make
yeah.
wise choices in what we're eating,
Mm.
because the what you eat is going to show up in your body in the next
Yeah.
few years. It's
Mm.
going to make an impact. It's going to make a difference,
Hmm.
in how you function, your energy levels, and I want to be as vital as I can be, because
Sure.
when you're
Hmm.
an entrepreneur, when you're in business, Jim, you know this, your energy is paramount. You have to have a lot of energy to
Oh yeah.
execute what you need to do and how you need to do it well.
Hmm.
And so these
Hmm.
things are important, if you want to have a happy, fun life, if you want to enjoy your life to the fullest,
Hmm.
and so you need to drink lots of water. Water is
Hmm.
very important, alkaline, alkalinity, pH balance. Of course, we can get into all that. But when you
Hmm.
eat these green leafy vegetables, it creates an alkaline environment within your body. Disease
Hmm.
process thrives in acidic environments. So the more that
Right.
your body is alkaline, the more that there's less chances for obviously cancer cells to replicate and reproduce.
Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of like when you turn your body away from acid and more of a higher pH level, that's like taking a swamp plant out of Louisiana and planting it in
Right.
the Sahara Desert. I mean, it's not going to, I mean, it's just going to look real sad and wither up in a matter of no time, you know. But
Right. That's exactly
I
right.
like to share something with you that I went through
Yeah.
back in 2008. I had just turned 60, and I thought, well, this getting old is a new experience for me because I've been young all my life,
Hmm.
at least mentally.
Hmm.
And but I came down with a bleeding ulcer. It
Oh
was a
goodness.
peptic ulcer.
Yeah.
There was
Stress.
no there was no pain to it. There was no nothing to it. I mean, I'd always heard, about what you eat, stress, and all that,
Hmm.
but I didn't know anything about an ulcer. I got up
Hmm.
one morning, I'm drinking coffee, and then about 9:30, I got nauseated, and everything came up, and everything was dark.
Oh
So I'm
no.
thinking coffee, you know,
Mm-mm.
and I kept going up and down over a few days. Make a long and boring story short, went to the doctor twice, and he said, there's something wrong with you, but I can't figure it out. That
Mm.
reminds me of the time I got sick with something. And went to the doctor, and he says, son, have you ever had this before? And I said, yeah, about 10 years ago. Well, looks like you got it again. And I thought, am I going to have to pay him for that? You ever had this before? Yeah, you got it again. I really, anyway, but he didn't know what it was. And I kept, in fact, Saturday, I started feeling better. But I wasn't out of the woods. And then Saturday night, I started going down. So I knew I needed some help. So I go to the ER. Time I get there, let me see if I remember here right. My blood pressure was 39 over 74.
Oh my goodness.
My heart rate was 122 beats per minute. Hemoglobin was 6.1.
That's really low. That's very low.
And I felt like I had been run through a ringer washer.
Yeah, you were bleeding,
Yeah.
internally
And
bleeding.
yeah. And then what I couldn't understand, everybody was bent over talking to me. I thought, won't they just raise the bed up? What happened? They had my feet in the air and my head downhill. And because they kept looking at my feet, I thought I washed them. Did they stink or what?
Hmm.
And they were, concerned about, the color, all that.
Hmm. Your
And then,
circulation.
yes. And then the nurse there in the nurse in the ER, she says, have you ever thought about a transfusion?
Hmm.
And I look at her and I says, a transfusion for what?
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
I'm not thinking about blood and I need
Yeah.
blood. I don't know what's going on. She says, you need some blood. I said, okay. And so, long story short, in that several days I was there, they put me in ICU that night. And I said, what
Hmm.
am I doing in ICU? They said, you know how close you are to having a heart attack or stroke. And I'm
Hmm.
thinking, yeah, right. Because as soon as they put that IV in my arm, I started feeling a little better because I'm getting some kind of fluid in me.
Right. Hydration.
Yeah. And I had to take a total of 5 units of blood. And let me share this with you, if I may, ladies and gentlemen. It was a very humbling experience for me because you're laying there, you got one IV in one arm, or you got an IV in one arm, and you're receiving blood in the other arm. And I remember looking at that red line, that red tube running across my chest, giving me the life savings blood. And I remember all the years in the military, we used to give blood, and it was a fun time for us because we'd go down there. The nurses knew us at the Red Cross, and they knew we were clowns. And one of my buddies, he didn't really like Lonnie McMillan was his name. He didn't really like needles, and it just so we're standing there in line. He's on this little gurney here, and he's kind of like, he does it every other month like we do, but he's kind of like, okay, let me get that needle in there and get this behind me, and then I'll be okay. And I popped off and I says, because the nurse knew us, and I said, hey, you know what he said? He said this morning it'd take a real nurse to hurt him. Hey, shut up. And he says, and one of my buddies, Dennis, said, no, he didn't say that. I said, didn't. What did he say? He says, a real nurse would take it out of his neck, out of the jugular vein, without missing a beat. She swabbed the side of his neck and he sat straight up. That was my experience in giving gallons, and I gave several gallons of blood during my lifetime to the Red Cross, and it was a fun time. But when I was laying there in that bed, receiving the blood, that was a humbling experience.
Yeah.
And they did the upper and the lower GI thing on me, and they said you had a peptic ulcer. And for some reason, when they develop right in the duodenum, right into the curve where it comes out of the stomach into the large intestine. That's where they hang their hat at. And he says, you've had a couple before because they've been scarred over. This one here, it erupted and it was big. And so they sent me home. They give me the purple pill. And I says, what's this for? And the nurse said, well, that's for acid reflux. I says, I've never had. Yeah, Nexium. I've never had acid reflux. And she said, well, that's what we give patients with peptic ulcers. And so my wife says, Jim, take it. I said, all right.
Yeah, but see, Jim, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. If we are attentive to our body. Now, listen, I've had patients in the past, they've come in. I've had people say, listen, I went to my GP or I went to my primary care physician. I had a headache. And, and I've seen people being misdiagnosed. Most of the time, diagnoses are right on. But there are those moments when people have come in and said, listen, I had a muscle. It hurts in my back. I don't know what was going on. It lasted several weeks. They come in, we do a CT, and boom, there's a tumor on their spine. Or I had another patient, this is a true story. Excuse me, she was a high-profile lawyer, and she said she had been getting headaches for the past 4 weeks. She didn't know what to do. She had taken some Tylenol. It would go away. It would come right back. And then her eyesight was starting to be affected. And it was just small little changes that she started to notice. She went in. Her primary care physician said, don't worry about it. It's probably just a headache. You're under a lot of stress. You're a high profile person, et cetera, et cetera. She listened to that. Okay. So she went away. She comes back in. She says, listen, these headaches are still going. I need something else. So he said, thank goodness he did. He said, listen, we're going to do a couple of CTs and we're going to see what's going on. So they ran some CTs. Guess what? Brain tumor. So this is what I'm talking about. I'm wanting to let everyone know you need to pay attention to those little things within your body, to those things that you think, oh, what is this? It may not be anything. You're right. It may not be anything. But the best thing to do is to get it checked early, because if it's nothing, great. But if it's something, then hopefully we can do something about it and get you some treatment and move forward, because and it's scary. It's scary for patients. And and when they are diagnosed, God forbid, when they are diagnosed, they need a good support system. They need good people around them. And it's a fight. It's a fight. And so, I like to, to encourage people by giving them the best cutting edge research and evidence-based practice information possible. But I also value the fact that, you have to understand what people are going through and to be empathetic where they're at, and to, make sure you're doing your routine checkups, make sure you're getting your body checked like you should, routinely. And so those things are important. Make sure that you're going to the doctor, you're getting your blood work done, you're getting those things done that you need to on a routine basis. Those things are important.
They really are.
Yes.
And I wanted to finish up my little story there about the little purple pill Nexium, because I was taking it.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
And about an hour and a half after I would take it, I'd have to lie down on the couch because I got nauseated to my stomach. It felt like a big wide metal band was just around my head, just shoved down on it. It just, it made me miserable for about an hour and a half. Then it wore off. And then I said, I can't live like this. My body is telling me, hey, this junk I can't handle. So I
Yeah.
started researching peptic ulcers, and the Australians are all over it.
Hmm.
They found that if you take red pepper, now get this goes contrary to what a lot of doctors will tell you and medical staff, but red pepper does two things. Number one, it creates a hostile environment for that peptic ulcer, which is known as H. pylori.
Yes. Yes.
H. pylori, that's a bacteria in your water.
Yes.
And if you're over 50 years of age, I don't care if you hadn't been 5 feet from the place you were born, you need to have, when you go in for a lab test, blood test, ask the doctor to have them specifically test for H. pylori, Pylori. It's a big long name, and they just shorten it to H, the letter H, capital H, pylori, Pylori. It's a spiral bacteria that eats into the lining of the stomach, and it creates a peptic ulcer.
Hmm.
Now, the red pepper, now this is what I love. The red pepper makes it such a hostile environment. When we were talking about the swamp plant being taken out of
Hmm.
Louisiana and over in the Sahara Desert, okay,
Hmm.
same here. It creates an environment that the bacteria cannot live or grow. Plus, red pepper helps restore the lining in the stomach, and it's good for your heart. So then afterwards, we went out to eat one time with some folks, friends of ours, at the pizza place. So I get that pepper and I'm shaking that pepper all over my pizza. And this one lady looks at me. She says, Jim, aren't you afraid that will burn your stomach? And I looked at her and I says, I hope so. And she looked at me like, are you serious? She says, Jim, you're not supposed to. I guess if I'd have ordered a bowl of chicken or something like that, that's what would have fit in her mind.
Hmm.
But the Australians are all over it. And when you do your research on it, you can easily see that you've got to be able to think outside the box and look for two or three sources that don't have
Yes.
anything, they don't have no money to be made, number one. They're,
Correct.
and look at the studies because Dr. Grant, we're going to have on tomorrow, he's going to bring a lot of verification
Yes.
on things about cancer
Yes.
and vitamin D's and things of
Yes.
this nature. He is just a living expert.
Hmm.
But
I'm excited.
yeah,
But but
that's
I
been. Go
but
ahead.
I think what I want to bring forward too is the fact
Mhm.
that cancer patients are so sometimes so vulnerable, and so
Ooh.
I've seen firsthand how it can go the other way too, and how there are a lot of scams out there where people
Mm.
are making money telling bladder patients that cancer patients that, hey, if you buy this wart, root wart or whatever it is, and take it 3 times a day, you're going to be cured.
Mhm.
So I need to emphasize the importance of getting knowledge
Mhm.
and understanding from
Yes.
exactly what you're taking, why you're taking it.
Mhm.
Look for clinical studies that
Mhm.
back what you're doing.
Mhm.
You need to do your own research. You need to become aware, because be
Mhm.
careful of people who say that this and this can cure anything, or it
Oh
can cure
yeah.
that. I've had patients that have been in that situation, and it's sad, because
Mhm.
they're looking for every ounce of hope that they can get.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and there are people that will take advantage of that. So
Sure.
all I'm saying is be aware. Homeopathic medicine, I love it.
Mhm.
I'm a naturalist myself. I believe that in prevention, and obviously prevention is better than
Mhm.
having to go the other route. But
Mhm.
prevention is now. It
Mhm.
starts when you're like in your 20s, and I mean, if you can make it, if
It's
you
a
can make a
lifestyle.
change, it's a lifestyle. It is not just once in a while. It is a continued lifestyle on a day-to-day basis that demands discipline.
Mhm.
And so But you have to understand why you're doing the things you're doing, and you
Hmm.
need to understand the implications of that and the consequences
Yeah.
of it. So I think I just want people to be aware.
Oh,
They need to
yeah.
be in the know. They need to be
Oh, yeah.
knowledgeable of what they're
Hmm.
doing and why they're doing it. Because
Hmm.
I've seen people that have tried to take advantage of cancer patients, especially on both
Oh,
spectrums. So, just be
that's
aware of that.
that's about as low as you can go. And let me say this. This is a warning. If you don't know
Yeah,
what you're doing, you can harm yourself.
that's right.
Okay?
That's exactly right.
Let me give you a classic example. In my studies, I read where if you take stinging nettle, it will
Hmm.
turn your hair from gray back to its natural color. Now, what I was doing and what I highly recommended, and Tanya hit on this earlier, I had a doctor that was a good friend of mine, and he just let me pop in there and have the nurse. Anytime Jim comes up and wants his blood pressure check it.
Yes,
Because I consistently about 120 over 68 or something like that,
that's a good
you know.
friend.
Yeah. And I started taking this thing in nettle, and it
Hmm.
started turning my hair and, back, getting darker and darker. And I'm thinking, I like this. So then I go to the doctor, and my blood pressure had shot up to 140 over 90.
Oh no, Jim. Oh no.
And I'm thinking, uh-oh.
Oh
So
no.
I started reaching going back and doing my research and looking back at everything. I thought, well, maybe I'm taking two things that's,
Hmm.
you know,
Yes.
but then I
Yes.
saw in one study where stinging nettle in some cases can elevate the blood pressure.
Hmm.
So I said, okay. So I stopped taking stinging nettle, and my hair started turning gray and my blood pressure dropped. So from that experience, when I die, I want someone to walk by me and look at me and say, I can see why he died. Yeah.
Well,
But
well.
and one more thing, if I may,
No, go ahead.
what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. And I really have a problem when some guru comes on TV and talks about resveratrol or,
Hmm.
as that, how you say that? Astaxanthin. That's it. I
Hmm.
can't sometimes get my tongue wrapped around my eye tooth, can't see what to say. Astaxanthin. And everybody runs to it like it's the fountain of youth. Don't do that. Please
Yeah.
don't do that. Do your research. Because
Yes.
I remember back in the 80s, I tell the funny story about garlic. There was a big garlic kick back then. A lot of people, not everybody, you'd be around them and all of a sudden, oh, excuse me, I've been taking garlic. Yeah.
Now I
Hell,
do love garlic. I do
yeah.
love garlic. Yes.
And
I.
anyway, people were taking garlic.
Hmm.
And Ellen says, let's take garlic too. I heard all these wonderful things about it. And I said, I don't want to walk around with weasel breath. Are you kidding me? And so she found some that had rose hips or something on it that would
Yes.
help. So we started taking it. The same time I started taking it, I had gotten these flea and tick collars for my two dogs. And I put in the collars on them and all that. Well, what happened was on this side of my neck, I broke out in a big red rash.
Oh
It
no.
wasn't, sore. It looked more like a piece of leather, but it itched. Oh man, I itched like a hound dog with a mange. I lay there in bed, want to
Oh
crank up
no.
my hind leg and scratch. It was awful.
Oh
And
no.
so Ellen said, "Well, Jim, why don't you stop taking the garlic?" And I had been so brainwashed that I thought it can't be the garlic. I thought the way my bird brain thinks, I'd got some of the chemicals off of that flea and tick collars that I put on the dogs
Oh yeah.
underneath my fingernails and scratched my neck.
Yep.
That sounded reasonable to me. So anyway, I stopped taking the garlic and it started clearing up in a couple of days. Then I started taking
Yeah.
the garlic again and same thing flared up. So I was allergic to
Mm.
garlic. So what is good for the goose is not good for the gander. And be
I love
careful
that.
about
Yep.
your health because if you don't know what you're doing, you
Yes.
can harm yourself.
Yes. Yes, Jim. I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm so thankful you brought that forward I think that we would recommend definitely for people to work hand in hand with a clinical licensed physician or
Oh, yeah,
MD,
100%.
because I've seen that over and over where people either stop taking their medication, start herbal
Mm,
treatments, or and like ginkgo, and they do other things like that. Say if you're going in for surgery, it might thin your blood too much, or do different things that they're not
right.
aware of. So
Mhm,
these things you need to be aware of because herbs will definitely, I think herbs are wonderful.
mhm.
When they're used appropriately, when they're used wisely, and they're used in knowledge.
Mhm.
So I have seen people that don't know what they're doing and they come in and, and it has hurt their bodies in different ways. So
Oh, yeah.
those are excellent points. Excellent points. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember this, when it comes to money, profit over people always wins. And the
Uh,
reason I say that is
uh,
because don't ever buy, let's say you're going to buy vitamin D3, okay? And you want to add that to your diet, okay? Fine. Uh, but don't buy the cheapest source of vitamin D3 because these people do not have any type of controls over them. Now, I don't have any stock in any of these companies, but I like Swanson's vitamins. I like Puritan's Prides. I like name brand companies because they have a lot to lose. They build their business and maintain their business on their reputation. They're not going to sell you junk.
yeah.
And one of the most risky things I've ever seen anybody do, especially for men, is this Viagra. That stuff is
Hmm.
dangerous by itself. But then other, hey, you can get it for, whatever price it is per pill that. But I mean, that stuff, it may have cow manure in it for something. There's no way,
Yeah.
there's no guidelines to control that stuff. You got to be careful.
Right. Right. You do have to be careful.
And
Here's a true story. Here, Jim,
mhm,
here's a true story. Now
mhm,
it goes a little bit off the bar of cancer, but it
okay,
does speak to pharmacology. It does speak to medicine. And
sure.
so I knew someone, he had a mental health issue, and he said that the physician, he wasn't prescribing appropriately. I think he might have been taking too much of the dose,
Oh,
probably,
yeah.
but he ran short of his medicine. You know what he did? He got desperate and he ordered it from the black market. So he got these medications off the black market. He took some one night. This is a true story. He took some one night, and I said, "You cannot do this. You have to. This is not good." So I was talking to him. He's one of my friends, and he took it one night, and he had an adverse reaction because the pill that he had taken was not what he asked for. It was filled with
Mm,
some other type of benzodiazepine that he had not asked for, and it was really harmful to him, and
mhm.
it threw him into an episode. So these are the things that we're talking about is make sure also the efficacy of the medication you're taking,
Mhm.
your understanding, because I think there are vitamins that are created that aren't quite pure,
Uh-huh.
and their efficacy and that type of thing and the way that they're made.
Mhm.
So it's better to spend the extra money on
Yes.
better quality than it is to
Yeah.
get cheap,
It's safer.
especially for your
It's
health,
safer. Yeah.
and safer. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because,
Hmm.
when you're putting something in your body and you're wanting a positive benefit, you need to make sure you know what you're putting in your body. I mean, because otherwise you can harm yourself, as I said before. And, I drink a lot. Oh, I was going to tell you this too. This is one of those a nicety to know.
Hmm.
One of the things that the Japanese people, they notoriously are known for. I read this, and the reason why they don't, they're not obese and all that. Of course, we've heard about the way their diet, yes, but
Yeah.
one of the things that you can do that's really good for you in the morning is get up and drink some lemon water.
Yes.
Yeah, just like lemonade without sugar, okay? But because we call it breakfast in the morning when we eat, right? You know why it's called breakfast? Because at night when you're sleeping, your body is fasting. And when you have breakfast, you actually break the fast. Think about that. That's why they call it breakfast. I'm not making this up.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I'm not making this up. I mean, I'm not smart enough to make it up. I mean,
Mhm.
Tanya can testify to that. But my point being is that, get up in the morning, like what I do. I get up, I put my coffee on. Well,
Mhm.
while my coffee is percolating, and sometimes I'll even put cinnamon sticks in there, the
Oh, I
natural
love
stick.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I love those.
That'll put a glow on your toenails in the
I
morning.
love it.
But sincerely, uh, I'll get some water and put a little lemon juice in there and drink it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that way I've, calm. Yeah, I've done two things. I've been able to replenish my body with water that it needs after fasting all night. Then I can lick my lips and start enjoying my good coffee. And that way it's a win-win situation because I tell people, when I pass on and all that, just look for me at the coffee bar because that stuff had to come from heaven. I mean,
I know, I tell you. And
I'm,
there used to be studies saying that, coffee was just altogether bad for you. But
oh
that's
yeah.
not the case. Those
Mm.
those studies have changed.
Oh
And
yeah.
so they recommend at least one cup of coffee, and it
Mm.
increases your energy and your brain flow and all of that. So
Mm.
I mean, I think those things,
Mm.
but green tea is so good to decrease
Oh
free
yeah.
radicals. I mean,
Mm.
naturally, it's a high in antioxidants,
Yeah.
which is good for you. So these are the things that you want to focus on with
Yeah.
preventive care and how you want to
Mm.
manage your health. The thing
Oh yeah.
is, you're responsible for your health. No one else is
Mm.
responsible for your
That's right.
health. The way that in your health is directly related to your decision making. Now,
Mm.
and that's why it's so important to make good decisions on a day-to-day basis. Not only that, but you need to understand your triggers, your emotional triggers, and all of that good stuff, for eating and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. And,
Mm.
that those are areas where we're all growing in
Yeah.
probably. And you need to be, just good to yourself as well.
Oh.
Mentally, physically, spiritually, your overall
Oh yeah.
well-being, it all plays
Mm.
a part in it. So make sure you're laughing and you're going out and you're having fun
Oh
and
yeah.
you're creating fun moments because stress will kill
Yeah.
you. Negative
Yeah.
stress will harm your body. So
Mm.
these are the things that we need to watch out for, especially
Yeah.
today in the society
Yeah.
we're living in. and
We wanted to.
and it
Yeah.
I, I
Go
I
ahead.
did look up a statistic. It stated that within 2021, it's estimated that over 606,000 people will be newly diagnosed with some form of cancer. So
Mm.
I think that these things, just because look at where our agriculture is, the
Mm.
pesticides that are used within our foods,
Oh
all of
yeah.
those things,
Mm.
and so it's environmental as well as
Mm.
genetic, hereditary, as well as
Mm.
how we're keeping care of our diet. All
Oh
these
yeah.
things need to be looked at.
Oh, yeah. And you mentioned teas there. When I was sick with bronchitis, the thing that my body really liked, you can tell that, when your body says, hey, this is good stuff,
Yeah.
was 3 tablespoons of honey, 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and hot
Yes.
water. And it really did, it made me feel better and all that. But I remember one night, my wife gave me some tea that had, sleepy time tea or something. I don't know what it was, but I tell you what, that stuff worked. I took a
Mhm.
trip that night and didn't even leave the bed or didn't even have to pack a suitcase. I mean, whoa.
Yeah.
I got the next morning. I says, I can't handle that stuff. She says, why not? I said, I woke up this morning. I'm still groggy.
Thank
But,
God for good wives
oh, yeah. And, if you
and good
try that,
husbands.
and if I was going to try it again, I'd probably, take a half a cup instead of a full cup.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I tell you right now, that stuff works. I mean, it put me in la la land. I was, I think I took a couple of laps around Jupiter while I was out.
I'm telling you, whenever I get to, and I'm rarely sick, thank God, but
Mhm,
when I do, the last time I was just having a coughing fit, just a
mhm,
coughing. And what I
mhm,
did was I split garlic in half
mhm.
and I just I just let it soak for about 30 seconds, and I drank that 3 times a day, and it cut
Mhm.
my cough. It
Oh,
did.
wow. That's
Hmm.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone. We've had a wonderful visit with you today. We didn't even take any commercial breaks, but see our sponsor, the 6 Minute Webinar. You go to 6 Minute Webinar on our Facebook page, and you can see other people who have filled out a 6 Minute Webinar. And we want to thank you for tuning in today. Most importantly, research everything when it comes to your
Yeah.
health, because your health is going to be with you 24/7. And just take care of yourself. Be sure and love yourself, and
Yes.
give yourself good doses of laughter. If you want to look at something that's funny and laugh, look at some of the dumb things you've done. I mean, let's be honest. I
True.
mean, I've pulled a couple of boners in my life, but more than a couple,
Oh,
but be sure and learn how to laugh at yourself, and enjoy good humor and share
yeah.
good humor. And be around people who are about love and laughter, because that is
Yes.
some of the best medicine that you can take. And
So
most
true.
importantly, everyone can afford that medicine. On behalf of Tanya and myself, we want to thank you and all the good folks at the E360 TV behind the scenes. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you have a blessed day. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll be here with Dr. George Grant.
Yes.
Yeah, this
That would be
guy,
great.
he's going to be locked and loaded, and he's going to have a full ammo. So be sure and share it with others. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.